Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre, Adept, and Dr. Kevin Richardson. Have you ever had a day, an hour, a moment when you knew exactly who you are, in the right place, and knowing what you need to do? Would you like to feel the power and presence of being you at your best all the time? Almost all problems around health, wealth, relationships, and purpose can be solved when you are restored to you. And Dr. Kyre and Dr. Kevin are here to show you how. Dr. Kyre uses Geotran human programming, human design, and activations to quickly and easily release you from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block your healthy, wealthy, happy life. Dr. Kevin is a clinical hypnotherapist with decades of experience in releasing the subconscious fears, beliefs, and habits that cause or contribute to experiences you no longer wish to have. Dr. Kevin specializes in releasing obesity and your blocks to success. Dr. Kyre and Dr. Kevin are both passionate about helping people improve their lives in person, by phone, or on Zoom. Yes, it's as easy to change your life long distance as it is in person. So, join the paradox as Dr. Kyre and Dr. Kevin discuss their different approaches to clearing your subconscious and restoring you to you with speed, efficiency, and a sense of humor. It's time for Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre and Dr. Kevin. The Paradox. Welcome to the show.
This is Dr. Kyre Adept, and this program is Being Your Best You. Dr. Kyre Adept and
Dr. Kevin Richardson.
We are a pair of docs. Yeah. Okay. You can tell we're obviously telling funny stories to each other in the background here, and that's okay, because I'll tell you, joy and laughter is actually the operating system of the kingdom of heaven. So, Yay. So, This program always involves having a conversation about a topic that is of interest to us, at least, or that our clients have asked for. And we're always looking at it from our respective viewpoints. Makes sense? Mm-hmm. So I'm a Geotran genius. My website is geotran.global. You can find me on Facebook. My email address is drkyreadept@gmail.com. And my partner in crime here is Dr. Kevin Richardson, who's a clinical hypnotherapist with many years experience. He can be found at kevinrichardsontherapy.com, and his email is kevinrichardsontherapy@gmail.com, and he's also available on Facebook. So if you are intrigued, amused, or appalled by what we're talking about, you know where to find us. Yeah, that's right. A paradox. That's us. So what we're going to talk about this evening is focus.
Yes.
Now, focus affects us in a variety of ways, and there are lots of ways of dealing with it. That's the good news. Yeah. I personally, what I find interesting about this topic is that we, as human beings, we tend to look at it from a very limited perspective. I sometimes think an even better question is, I'm not saying this in a religious or theological sense, but what does the God of your being want you to focus on?
Mm-hmm.
We're forever telling spirit, I want this, I desire that. I'm showing you by my focus what I expect to expand in my world. And very often it's below the line. Very
Mm-hmm.
often we're focused on lack, misery, disappointment, dogmas, causes, agendas, especially in the political realm.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very often we're actually focusing on the things that we do not desire to be experiencing, as if universal law doesn't apply to us.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're focusing on, the universe is basically saying yes to. It's basically assuming that you want more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what's something that you focus on that really you know better?
What do I focus on?
Yeah.
Oh. Right now I'm focusing on research and doing research.
Well, that's great. But I know in the past, I'm not saying right now, I
But
know
in the
in the past
past,
that you've had anxiety about whether you can make enough money, whether you can attract enough clients. I have as well. I'll bet you
right,
everybody listening to this has
right.
had that kind of anxiety. And the thing I'm trying to say to you is, well, what you're really focusing on is the lack of. What you're really focusing on is not enough.
Not enough, rather than the abundance of it.
Yeah.
And so many times entrepreneurs and coaches, they get focused on what they don't have versus than what they have.
It's very,
And
very true.
so I know in working with various coaches and entrepreneurs, it's helping them regain their focus to their main objectives.
Yes. And the
And
fact of the matter is most of us don't actually know what it is we desire half the time.
right, we don't.
Yeah.
So,
And a part of that, actually a large part of that, in my opinion, is exactly what we were talking about in last week's program, which is about beliefs.
mhm,
You know, we have a belief that there's not enough to go around. We have a belief that we are not worthy. We have a belief that we can't. And this is especially true, saving your presence, Kevin. This is especially true for women.
mhm,
Trained as an architect, I went to a school that specifically encouraged women students, and we were still only 10% of the student body.
right,
And at that time, 1985, when I started studying architecture in the UK, only 5% of registered architects were women. So it took me, even with quite a bit of conscious work, it took me a while to realize that I had never had a picture of a woman architect. And
right.
on some subconscious level, but fundamental level, I didn't believe that women could be architects, even though I come from a family of, relatively speaking, professional women.
Yeah.
It's like,
And going into the field of occupational therapy, when I did, only 7% were men. And
well, you know,
I had professors tell me, and my advisor told me, that they did not believe men would make good occupational therapists. It is a woman's field. And so now it's about 40% men, maybe 30, between 30 and 40% men, but still woman dominated. And so the belief is that a man in occupational therapy cannot accomplish what a woman can.
and here's where this is where it ties in perhaps with the focus,
Right.
is that because these beliefs are mainly operating on the subconscious level, yeah, because so it's what you are basically being told, this is normal, right? This is normal for our particular society, and there'll be different beliefs in different societies, and we get that on a conscious level. We get that, but we don't really get that, on the unconscious, the subconscious.
Yeah.
I mean, because whatever we do is normal by definition. So we then waste a lot of our focus fighting a situation or condition or belief system that shouldn't be there anyway.
That's
And
incompatible
that,
with.
I was going to say shouldn't be affecting us, but it does, because that's
It
the sea
does.
we swim in.
It does affect. It does affect men. In my class of 80 OTs, 7 were men. And that was the largest class they had of men. And of that, there was only 2 of us that pursued the profession of OT. The rest left. They went into other things.
I was the only woman who started in my class and graduated with my class. Yeah. So I completely get it. Yeah.
So
it's part of it is obviously I'm going to experience particularly the bias against women because, hey, I'm a woman, and you're going to experience the bias against men because, hey, you're a man. But structurally speaking, there is definitely more bias against women than there is against men.
Definitely.
In society as a whole. So we get to really examine, how can I put this? How much we're focused on, say, frustration, how much we're focused on limitation, how much we're focused on not enough, on not being good enough, on not being recognized enough, on not being on having to meet other people's expectations.
Right. And not being valued by others.
Right. Yeah. These are all focus issues. Yeah. Why don't we seem to respect male nurses? Well, because because all the women's professions are valued less than all of the masculine professions. Therefore, a man who is in a women's profession is going to be valued less. That's why we don't respect them.
And there's a belief across the profession and a belief among the public that only a woman can be a nurse.
Yeah. Just like only a man can be a doctor, even though there are more women doctors now,
right.
Obviously.
Now there's more women doctors. And it's interesting because in our belief system, it is our belief that a woman would care for a man and tend to the man's needs and care to other women's needs. Whereas in our belief system, a man is cared for and is not a caregiver.
Yes. And there are all kinds of studies and whatnot.
Right.
And truly, I do think that there's a difference between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. They're of equal value. So, there's always enough truth in these things to keep us wondering.
Well, and there's a belief that women tend to be compassionate.
Yeah, I've heard this theory.
I've heard this theory too. I don't see it very often, but I have heard it. And whereas a man is not able to have a compassion as a caregiver.
Yeah.
And so I see that a lot, especially in the field of healthcare. Whereas there are male nursing attendants in nursing homes. And as a therapist working with patients, I would get more complaints about a male nursing attendant, and they would feel a female felt uncomfortable being cared for by a man. And they felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is connotation that the man is aggressive and doesn't value women as, I'm getting into thin ice here.
Here, let me sharpen those blades for you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just drop right through. But I I think women are more comfortable with women, and men are more comfortable with men when it comes to personal hygiene and personal care.
Oh, of course.
And I think
course.
it's a belief that is cultural wide.
And remembering that we, in that respect, in the West, we live in, relatively speaking, a more liberal society. There are certainly societies in the world where there are very, very rigid separations between men and women and what it's felt that they can do or not.
Right.
And that personal care aspect that you're mentioning right here. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
I actually remember a time when a male friend of mine, not somebody I was going out with, just a friend, got beaten up. And I don't remember the circumstances now. This was like 30 years ago, maybe 40. But it was so obvious to me that what he needed was he needed to have a shower. You know? And I was the person who was there. But it was really interesting that, you know, I'm relatively conscious person, and I was thinking, oh, okay, is this really what I want to do? Is it's like I was not on the terms with this person that I particularly wanted to see him naked or handle his delicate bits, you know?
Right.
But somebody needed to do it, and I was the one who was there.
Right.
So there are circumstances which will allow us to refocus. Maybe in a more neutral way, a more beneficial way.
It's interesting because I'm doing research on communication, and it talks about dominant and non-dominant, whereas the dominant is more masculine and the non-dominant is more feminine.
Sure. In our culture,
And in our culture, whereas in other cultures, it's not. And there was some ancient societies where women were the leaders.
This is the basis of some very interesting science fiction writing, actually. The early series by Kate Elliott called Duran, four books, each of them about this thick. And it's a nomadic tribe, obviously modeled on Genghis Khan. And the women did all the politicking, and they controlled the tribes in that political sense. They had children, obviously, and they cooked the food. The men and boys looked after the children. I mean, the boys mainly looked after the toddler size and older children.
Right.
And the herds. And the men looked after the fighting. So they all fought with sabers. And they did embroidery, because embroidery is portable, whereas weaving is not. So the women did the weaving and the men did the embroidery. And there are a couple of little scenarios in there where there's a woman learning saber, which is like considered very, very exceptional. And her foster brother says, well, would you like to have another go at the embroidery? You seem to be pretty good at saber, so I thought maybe embroidery would appeal to you. And she said, what, and ruin your second best shirt? I don't think so. But it has got to do. I mean, it's got to do with preference. It's got to do with belief systems, obviously. And well, yeah, of course, it's discrimination. Well, duh, yeah.
It's a different type of discrimination.
Based on incorrect beliefs. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a question of focus is slightly different, because focus is something if we pull ourselves out of our belief systems enough to look at them a little bit more consciously, then we can start asking questions like, okay, what is it best for me to be focusing? Not a sense of obligation, not an ought,
right?
But what am I designed to focus on? I actually found a file here. Dorothy put out, my teacher Dorothy put out, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, which has the 12 values of God leading to benevolence. And they are power, courage, possibilities, remembrance of who you were born to be, the favor of God, which is actually a technical bit, redemption, the Holy Ghost, believe in who you are in Christ, which again is a technical bit, God connection, being blessed, owning our own souls, and overcoming the world. Now, it makes sense to me that the God of our being would rather have us focus on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I knew it was in here somewhere. There's a code.
Naturally, there has to be.
Well, yeah, that's what Geotrans all about. Okay, so this corrects the focus in your mind's eye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your mental focus. It's not your emotional focus. It's not your will focus. It's not your focus of your beliefs. It's in that mind's eye. So that's taking us back off into spirit, which is where we really want to be for the most part. Okay, so what is something you're focusing on that your mind's eye is going, really? Is that really where you want to go? Is that really what you want more of? Let's see if we can correct it.
Golly, I can't think of anything.
Oh, let me throw in some suggestions.
Okay.
Okay. How about chaos? How about trust? How about, I'm looking at things that maybe your focus is on that is not beneficial to you. You'd rather be focusing on trust than on mistrust. You'd rather be focusing on order or organization, I'm not sure which, than on chaos.
Yes.
You'd rather be focusing on health and vitality rather than pain.
Illness. Yeah, and pain.
Yeah. Pain is a tricky one because that is just so distracting.
And debilitating.
Well, it takes out your truth. That's the thing. That's what we say in Geotrend. That fear takes out your light. Pain takes out your truth. And truth and light together are intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like your brain cells go.
Right.
Yeah, if you have fear or pain. Yeah, people freeze up.
Well, and if you have pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain, you focus on it 24 hours a day.
Yes.
7 days a week. That's all you focus on. And the misbelief with that is that the more you focus on it, the worse it becomes. So when you are focusing on pain, you are generating pain.
Well, whatever you focus on, it is universal law. Law of focus says that whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of it.
Right.
So loss, lack, poverty, failure, disappointment, distress, resentment, rage, big 4, envy, coveting, craving, jealousy. Big 5, heresy, hatred, greed, victim, grudges. Big 6, I won't worry, judgment, unforgiveness, blame. Shall I go on?
You covered it.
Pretty much. Yeah, and we're focusing on stuff all the time. And I get it, because calm and pleasant and easy as I always am in these television episodes, in my personal life, I can get pretty damn agitated.
Yeah.
And I know you can too. And then we focus on that until we can't stand it anymore. And a better thing, a true friend would be saying is, what do you want to be feeling like? How can we get you there?
Right. And in hypnosis, in hypnotherapy, we actually go on that journey.
Yeah. So in a sense, resetting the focus there.
Yeah. We're resetting the focus. We're identifying what do you want to focus on versus what you are focusing on. Okay. And then we extinguish and then we strengthen.
Yes. So I'm just taking that up to the next level from a particular perspective and saying, okay, so what does the God of your being wish you to focus on? What does your divine blueprint, what has it designed you to focus on? Like, we all know people who, like Karen, our colleague Karen, who's a painter. And she could not be other than a painter. And that is what she is designed to focus on.
and an
Yeah,
educator. She's
yeah.
designed to be an educator in art, in painting.
Yeah. And she can do this in any number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when she is off focus, that's not as beneficial to her or to anybody else.
Correct.
Yeah, that's when she gets into the rage and resentment and all that good stuff. I mean, not that I have those things, but others.
Yeah. It's we're never like that.
I'll drink to that. This is water, by the way.
Another glass of wine too. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of the folks that I work with, it's refocusing on what is important to them and extinguishing what they are focused on that is detracting them.
And I have a great example of that.
Okay.
You will recall that last week we did that session on phobias, and you used the hypnotherapy on me because I had this odd little phobia about kitchen cabinet doors being open. And I did not take the time during our discussion or after the hypnotherapy to go and experiment because I didn't want to leave the background here.
Yeah.
But I did afterwards, as you know. Well, the funny thing is, it really is a matter of focus. It really is. Because firstly, now I'm so indifferent to whether the cabinet doors are open that now I'm accidentally leaving them open and now I walk into them.
Oops. It went a little bit sideways, but it corrected.
Hey, but at least I'm no longer have a phobia about the plates sort of leaping off the shelf and attacking me. But it just makes me aware that that's about focus.
Yeah. So yeah. So we refocused your attention to other things.
Yeah.
That are less negative.
Yeah. Less agitating.
The negative with the positive.
Yeah. So now it's just neutral to me. Oh, the cupboard door's open. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, let's make sure and shut it before I try and walk past it and sort of get it on the edge of my cheekbone again. Oh, so what kinds of things? I mean, here maybe is where we'd love to hear from the peanut gallery. Is there anybody listening, watching, Angie, who I'm talking to my lovely producer, Angie B, who has something that they notice that they're focusing on? Like, for example, we had that question last time about someone who it looks, sadly, we don't wish this for him, looks like he might be going through a divorce soon. And look at what he's focused on. He's focused on being taken to the cleaners.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know anything about this person. I don't know anything about his soon-to-be ex-wife, it sounds like. But I do know that his focus is going to make that area expand for him.
Right. It's increasing his anxiety and his stress levels, when in reality, we don't know what the outcome is going to be.
No.
We don't.
So if you're going to engage in unnecessary fantasy, if I can put it that way, then you might as well make it something pleasant.
Yes.
You see what I mean? I mean, you might as well keep your focus on even if the divorce happens, would it be possible to keep the focus on keeping it civilized? On keeping the communication lines open, especially if there are children involved. And could you focus on the picture of, okay, we're in court, we're divorced, right? But we're going to appreciate whatever the good times were. There must have been positive feeling, at least at the beginning of the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible to focus on those things too. It's possible to focus on the support of your friends.
And focus on the new life and a new opportunity that you are being given.
Yeah.
Because from what I know, I've never been divorced. I hope not. But
I can check that for you.
I don't think I don't think that's in the future.
The reason I put it that way, just for the people listening, is that I work with people on this issue fairly often, and quite often, the majority of cases, people have been married in the field more often than they think.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to actually untangle what's going on in the field, even though they're not technically married to that person, and maybe never have been technically married to that person.
Right.
That's
But
the
they
only
can
reason.
be entangled in some way.
Yeah. Oh, incorrect soul ties. Don't get me started. Okay. Well, you can get me started because really, I can talk about those for ages.
Yeah.
I think we should do a program on incorrect soul ties. I really do, but that's another day.
So, and using hypnosis, we help people regain their focus.
Yes.
And help to relieve the stress. And that focus can be whatever they wish. And vegetables. I've had success with that.
I know. I mention it.
So, and so much of this is just regaining focus. So,
I give people homework quite often. And the piece of homework I give the most often is have fun every day. Okay, but it's not as simple as that. Because one of the things I check is how much are you willing to do that? What I'm trying to do is help the person retrain their field to have their focus in this better, more beneficial, at least more enjoyable place.
Right.
And they'll say something like, oh, well, I'm going to do that every day for an hour. And I'm sitting there going, no, you won't. No. I am a great believer in underachievement. No.
Okay.
So it's like sending somebody to the gym. You know that they say they're going to do it for an hour a day, 5 days a week, it's never going to happen. And they're just going to feel bad. And they're going to feel let down and that they can't trust their own word on whatever it is. But anybody can exercise for 5 minutes, 3 times a week. So every time they do that, then they get to pat themselves on the back and they have that sense of achievement, even if it's only for 5 minutes. And if they're enjoying it, they might do more. Like going for a bike ride. They might, do an extra mile because they like it. And it's just a better approach because it's treating the focus in a different way. So it's not focusing on the failure aspect, which we all have in spades.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's focusing on that. Even if I just do a little bit, that's a good thing. I can feel good about it. I can lean into it. I can focus on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we, to be transparent and be truthful, I did lose my focus because I had a client who watched our show on sweets.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted hypnosis to eliminate the sweets. So we had made an appointment. I mislaid her information.
Oops.
I just mislaid it. And I missed the appointment.
Oh, I hate when that happens. But I forgive you.
I hate when that happens. Rarely.
I'm de-stressing. I'm de-stressing Dr. Kevin as he's speaking.
Yeah.
And
it happens to everybody.
It does.
And once I found her information again, I sent her an email and just saying, I apologize.
Yeah.
I mislaid your information. Just told her the truth. And I let her know that it's okay to seek help from someone else. And I'm not offended by that. And I would understand that. Someone that would resonate because I lost the resonation. I lost my focus. And
now it's moving.
Yeah. So I have forgiven myself for that. But I do feel bad. I do feel bad.
So here's the thing. How many people watching this have beaten themselves up, have kept their focus on what they did wrong, incorrectly, badly, in a mediocre way, in a way that was not supportive to the other person or to themselves, or even
Mm-hmm.
there is such a thing as a correct sense of duty, but for most of us, about 80% of the time when we feel a sense of obligation, basically we're just taking ourselves out of choice. And especially, this is a particular, pet peeve
Mm-hmm.
of mine. I freely admit it. This is why I check every time, is it obedient? Is it obedient means, is this in alignment with my divine blueprint?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the divine blueprint of the person who has approached me because they want to work with me. And if it's not in alignment, if it's not obedient, I don't do it. Now,
Right.
that doesn't necessarily sound like focus. What I'm trying to say about that is that we are really, really accomplished at remembering all the times we've screwed up.
Oh,
We are not quite as focused on, oh my gosh, I did a great job with so and so, and oh wow, there was that time that I pulled that woman out of terminal chronic fatigue in 2 sessions, and she made sure to sit down with me and look me straight in the eye and say, if no one else ever says this to you, you saved my life.
yeah.
Do I remember this as often? I remember it often enough, but I also
Not,
remember all the other times. So focus, 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 focus. I mean, Dorothy always said, look, what you get to practice is loving yourself and seeing yourself the way God sees you.
mm-hmm.
I kind of think of this in terms of puppies, to be perfectly frank with you. We'll forgive puppies almost anything because they're just unbearably cute. I'm sure that's how the dragons look at me.
Yeah. And kittens.
Yeah, maybe kittens, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they don't expect us to get it right all the time. God doesn't expect us to get it right all the time. You get a lot more grace if you're doing your best to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But where's your focus? Is your focus on when you get it wrong, or is your focus on when you get it right?
I think in our society, it's when we get it wrong that we focus on that.
Yeah.
And we bring that to the forefront, which only perpetuates.
But focus on it so you get more of it. Yay! Or not so yay. Yeah. So what if we were focusing on celebrating ourselves and each other every day? Actually, it comes to the most recent class that we had, which was a couple of weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
which was on Zoom, thank God. It was about glorification, glorifying ourselves, glorifying God, glorifying each other,
Mm-hmm.
meaning holding ourselves and God and the other in that higher love. Yeah. So if you start with faith, hope, and charity, and the greatest of these are charity, and you push it up a couple of levels, that is glorification. And what if we focused on that? What if we focused on what we're doing right and saw that first in the people around us?
Well, and I think also when we focus on the steps to do it right,
yes,
then rather than focusing on, I got to get this right.
Yes. It's like it's already right.
It's
just
already right.
in alignment.
You just need to expand upon that.
Yes.
So, as I told you, I'm preparing to do a speech in Paris.
I think I will have to attend this conference, at least to introduce you.
Well, and it is a conference for women, and it's hypnotherapists and hypnotists from all over the world.
Gosh.
And it's women. And so the focus of the conference is on communicating
Okay.
and establishing a collaborative and effective communication model with the medical profession.
Oh, I love it. So
And
you can do the English bits and I'll do the French bits. How's that sound?
yeah. And so the focus of my speech is how can we communicate with the medical world when the medical world doesn't view us as equals, nor do
I
they
can't imagine how one might feel that way.
And so the focus is on not how we are not communicating, but establishing a new communication model.
Yeah.
And so, and understanding how the medical world communicates. And they communicate from a framework of objectivity. Say that 3 times real fast. And being objective and being neutral.
Oh, detached, I think is the word you're looking for.
Well, I was wanting to avoid that word because there are certain negative connotations with that.
Indeed.
And I'm finding that out in the research that I'm reading, that reframing the words that are used and taking out the words that could be viewed as negative. For instance, an example would be that a doctor telling a patient, we're at the end of your treatment.
I'm sorry, with the what?
We're at the end of the treatment.
Oh, end of the treatment. I'm sorry, I just
End of
didn't
the
put
treatment.
Yeah.
And the patient may hear that as that their life is at the end.
Huh.
So, which I've seen a lot. I've seen that, in my work, where the patient misinterprets what is being stated. And so the focus really needs to be on the positive and elaborate on what is meant and have an understanding of where the negative piece can enter the communication and block that and stay focused on the positive and present it in a positive framework. Rather than saying we are coming to the end, saying we have reached a new milestone.
Right. Well, I get that a lot in my work because because exactly for this reason of focus. Exactly. Right. Remember in the last program where somebody brought up a very good question, which then being me, of course, I teased it apart in terms of the language being used.
Yeah.
Because very often the way the question is being asked, I'm not talking about that specific question. It was a perfectly good question. Mm-hmm. But when I'm working with people, they are so accustomed to focusing on the thing that they are not wanting that they don't even know how to frame it.
Right.
In terms of the thing that they do desire. So in a sense, that's my job. I've always been a translator in everything that I do. And I know that there is a country over here and there's a bridge. And my job is to walk that person across that bridge.
Yeah.
Because I know it's there and I know that it's positive. Yeah.
And that was my job as an occupational therapist.
Well, exactly. I can see a lot of similarities there.
Is to help the patient understand what is being said and to understand what has happened to them. if they've had a catastrophic illness or some event that, such as a stroke or a heart attack, helping them understand that it's not the end of their function, and we can focus their attention on techniques that will get them to where they want to be.
Yeah.
And so in hypnosis, we do the same thing.
It's so interesting because I was having a chat with my local French friend, and he speaks pretty good English. And what I found was that there is no expression in French for silver lining. That's so French.
That's interesting, and it's such a romantic language. Oh my God!
I had to really break it down. What I was trying to say, that you may have what appears to be this negative situation, and you have the choice whether you're going to focus on the cloud or whether you're going to focus on the silver lining. You know, and this is deeply un-French way of looking at things. You know, we're going to focus on the cloud, absolutely. And I said, you have to do that.
And I always viewed the French as looking at it from a romantic point of view.
Well, romance is not necessarily positive all the time.
The language is a romance language.
Yes, so romance romance in this case refers to the fact it comes from Latin, the Roman language. It does not mean romance in the sense of, oh, my darling, I cannot wait until you are in my arms once more.
Even though that's the connotation, that when someone is speaking French and someone that doesn't understand the French, they tend to melt.
Well, I remember actually there was this very cute sketch on Broadway. It was a review, which basically had one person reciting the names of vegetables in French with this over the top kind of romantic timbre to their voice. And as we all know, the French make the best lovers, but the Japanese make them smaller and cheaper. We're getting back to our focus.
Oh, I needed that today. I really needed that today. So getting back to our focus.
So, what's... Okay, moving right along. So what's something that you accidentally have been focusing on that we would be great to refocus? Because I want to use this code. Oh, come on. I'm sure you can think of something.
Oh, I can think of 100 things, but it's whether or not I want to disclose them or not.
just come on. Gird up your loins and help us out.
You know, it's like focusing on the fact that as a clinical hypnotherapist, I need to have all the answers. And as a PhD, I have to have the answers.
Right. Okay. So you're focusing on the lack of answers.
Right.
You have an anxiety about it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if you could focus on listening instead? I mean, I don't mean listening in the auditory sense. I mean listening in the field. Yeah, so that you get still and you can listen to the God of your being that's going to give you this surprising and helpful and efficacious information.
And we use inner voice.
Inner voice. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Again, I was reading about this today, so it's on my mind. Okay, so this body person is able to, that's you, of course, is able to focus on what the God of his being wants him to focus on. What percent? 0 to 50, 50 to 60, 60, 70, 70 to 80, 70, 75, 70, 71, 2, 3, 4, 74%, which is pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. But it's 26% is focused on something else. Okay? And I got this list, so I'm just going to look at this list for a second. Hang on. 2 to 5, 5, And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Being blessed. The God of your being wants you to focus on being blessed. Yeah. Which is seeing the good things in your life and knowing you've got a wonderful spouse and a comfortable home and 6 cats. And okay, that can be a mixed blessing, but we're going to assume it's a blessing.
It is a blessing. It's,
yeah,
it's 6 lives that we're giving a good home to.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, can we get that up to 100%? So let's try it. Should we do that?
Yes. Let's go for it.
All right. This is right hand counterclockwise. So this is clockwise and this is counterclockwise.
Okay.
So clockwise is top, left, bottom, right. Counterclockwise is top, right, bottom, left. So on the wrist action, you can do this.
Yeah.
That's good. Over the windpipe. So up a little bit. Okay. That's good. Okay. 4, 4, 1, 7, 6, 2, 4, 1, 9, 8, 7, 4, 1, 2, 9, 8, 7, 1, 4, 2. To God be the glory for it, Roman. Okay, so this body person now is 100% focused on his blessings, on being blessed. Not quite. Now, Angie B is way ahead of you, obviously.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. See, okay. So I think that there's just a little something else in this list. That's all. So I'm also looking at the other corrections to see whether there's another correction there. No, it's still in the focus. Okay. 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 11, 12. Okay, so the other thing on this list that they're pointing out to me is overcoming the world. What does this mean? This means that instead of operating totally in the physical and in the soul level, that we really reach for that spiritual level that transcends and includes. We're not ignoring the physical or the soul level or the psychology. We're saying, here's something that's even more important. This is where we're going to focus. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, overcoming the world. So that's like 63%. So we're going to just do the same thing. So right hand counterclockwise. 4, 4, 1, 7, 6, 2, 4, 1, 9, 8, 7, 4, 1, 2, 9, 8, 7, 1, 4, 2. To God be the glory for it, Roman. Okay, it's still not in there 100%. So let me just see what else there is. Okay, that's moving it a bit. Okay, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 11, 12. It's not that. Okay, so everybody, every human being, what we require more than anything else here is valiancy. That's courage. Yeah, that's standing up and saying, yes, I'm fully human and I'm going to do this wonderful thing. And validation, which having done the wonderful thing, you want somebody to go, good job. Yeah? Validation. So do you truly hear the validation as completely as you hear the criticism or the judgment?
No.
I was going to say that was a rhetorical question, you understand. I already knew the answer. Yeah.
And I did too.
Now they're telling me to use a different correction. This one is over the thymus. That's this bit where I always seem to have my whatever pendant I'm wearing. And this corrects your soul's memory of who you are.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the lower version of who you are. It's the sort of version. Okay. Now this also is right hand counterclockwise over the flat part of your chest. 4, 4, 1, 7, 6, 9, 4, 1, 7, 6, 2, 1, 4, 8, 7, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 9, 8. To God be the glory for it. Oh, there it goes. Woo! Okay, so this body now has 100% validation. That's a yes. Okay, so is there anything else this body requires? I mean, this body person requires in order to have, accept, allow, receive that focus that your being is going to benefit the most from. This body's 100% there. Stay there.
As I tell my cat, stay.
Yeah.
And guess what? They look at me like,
You're kidding me, right?
excuse me? You're telling me to stay. I'll tell you when I'm going to stay.
Yeah. Well, cats,
Yeah.
But there you go.
Dogs have masters. Cats have staff.
Oh, so true. So true. Yeah.
Oh,
I actually like both cats and dogs myself, but I know that's relatively unusual.
yeah. I love animals. I just love animals.
There you go. Yeah.
They bring soul to your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm traveling too much to have, but when I have my chateau here in France, then I'm thinking a couple of Russian blues or Chartreux. Chartreux is
Oh.
the French national cat.
Yes, they are
Yeah.
gorgeous cat, and they're a wonderful cat. Just
Yeah.
a wonderful cat.
And here's what we know. Here's what we know about cats. Okay. We know that the earth is a globe,
Mm-hmm.
because if the earth were flat, the cats would have pushed everything off the edge by now.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. And you can put something on the table, such as a plate, such as a cup, such as a bowl of food. And you can tell the cat, no. And the cat will look at you and proverbially do their, yeah, right, and push it anyway.
You see, by saying no, you're placing the cat's focus on that object.
Yes.
And cats are sufficiently and engagingly perverse.
Oh,
That's where their focus is.
extremely intelligent. Extremely intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
They remember.
Future life, former life, absolutely.
And
Well,
they know how to focus your attention on them.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So, my dears, think about where you're focusing. Notice where your thoughts go. Spend a couple of days just noting it down in your journal or whatever, and make a different choice if it's not what the God of your being wants you to focus on. Because we are here to have fabulous lives. Yeah. We really are. We're here to be happy and healthy and wealthy and wise when we can manage it, and full of purpose and aligned with that divine blueprint.
And Dr. Kyre and Dr. Richardson are here to help you regain your focus.
So true.
So true.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Thank you.